Welcome to That's What She Said, where we'll spill the tea on women empowerment in the Great Lakes Bay region with your host, Christiana Malacara.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of That's What She Said. Thank you for coming on and tuning in whichever way you're tuning in to us today, which could be over the airwaves, online, or on Spotify. We appreciate you coming in and improving your day by just, listening in on a conversation where we spill our tea every week on women empowerment. So I'm your host, Christiana Malacara, and I'm having a really fantastic day. I woke up and I was just like, woo, yes, let's get it. That's what she said day. And instantly I thought of just all the wonderful things that have happened since last week. And one thing that really stuck out is someone had told me, you can be your own boss. And it wasn't in regards to a job or anything like that. It was more or less being my own boss and navigating my way through or out of things that I did or didn't want to be in. And I had found myself in a moment where I was comparing myself to someone. And I thought, wow, this is something that this person did. I can do that. But that wasn't my initial thought. My initial thought was, wow, how did she get there? How did she do that? I can't do that. And then that's when my friend said, you can be your own boss. You can direct your own path. You can do your own thing. And so I was like, you're right. I can do that. She did that. I can do that. And we're going to make it happen. So as you move through the rest of your week, be your own boss. Remove yourself from a situation if you don't want to be in it. Push yourself forward and keep thriving if this is the direction you feel comfortable in. And most importantly, to take a pause. Take a pause, reflect, is this where I want to be? So moving forward, and we're going to push our way through this interview in a very, very exciting and just a ball of energy way. Because when I interact with this person that I'm going to introduce you to, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, this girl's got it going on. And we're going to learn, did she always? I don't know. Does she feel like she does? I don't know. Do any of us? Either way, I'm here to introduce Rebecca Suhr. Thanks, Rebecca, for being on today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so different. As you're going to learn, I'm not used to taking the questions.
Okay.
All
right. Well, I think that, if you want to ask me a question, I guess I'm open for that too. If you need to, get a little more comfortable,
we may have to later. Maybe
Okay.
I could come back sometime in a few months and I will interview you.
There we go. I'm always open for that. I'm a chatty person. So
me too.
Rebecca, could you introduce yourself and how the community might know you?
Okay, well, now I go by Rebecca Suhr, sometimes Becky Suhr. I work for the Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce, which is how I met you through our Young Professionals Network. She's one of our steering committee members. So I've got to know you through that. But people may know me as Rebecca Trilch. For more than 14 years, I worked at ABC 12 News and was a reporter, anchor, and producer. So I have both names. Trilch is my maiden name and Suhr is my married last name.
All these names.
Yes, it's confusing sometimes.
It can, you know what? Let's talk about names for a minute. So here's a fun fact about me. My name's Christiana Malacara. It rhymes. It's fun to say. There's a whole lot of A's in there. It's a good sign off, but there's a small group of people that know me as Chris.
Really?
Yes.
I would never call you Chris.
And
Christina by accident, everybody else.
Everybody else, yeah. They forget that last A at the end. Yeah, there's a small group of people that call me Chris. And I have to say, those people have been consistent in my life. They were friends from middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally 2 years at this one middle school, they called me Chris. And I was like, oh, now I'm still friends with them? And they're like, hey, Chris, what's up? And when someone else that doesn't know me from that name, they're like, what did they just call you?
That's not right.
That's not right. Yeah. Who's that? Who's Chris? Where's he at? Kind of thing. But okay. So I'm going to call you Rebecca.
That is fine.
And Rebecca, share with us what it is that you do now in your current position.
So now my title is, I think about this, communications and events specialist. I like to say emphasis on special because I am very special. Just ask my mom or my husband. But I do a lot of things at the chamber. There's only 6 of us. We just had a retirement. Patty retired after a few years. Congratulations to her.
Yes.
So there are 6 employees there at the chamber, and we do whatever we can to help businesses succeed. So with my position, I do all of our electronic communications. So if you get our at a glance every week, I put that together. I do all of our social media. I help with events, all the Young Professional Network events. I kind of organize those and figure out how all the pieces are going to fit together and stuff like that. And then there are so many other things I do, but that's the bulk of my work, is to communicate with people and help.
Communication.
Yes,
Okay.
and events.
So communication, and specifically under this realm, where is the Saginaw Chamber of Commerce? What area do you cover? Can you just give us a definition of that for those who are listening are like, what's a chamber do?
So, I wish I had a better answer for that. What doesn't a chamber do? No, a chamber, we're really here. We communicate, connect, and influence. Those are kind of the things that we really focus on. So communicate, we're letting people know what's going on in the business community. Connect. We like to connect people, whether it's Young Professionals Network and you're meeting a new group of friends that are hopefully going to become some really great friends, and you'll want to stay in Saginaw because of those connections. Influence. We do a lot of advocacy with lawmakers and things like that. So those are the 3 things that we really focus in on, and they're all with a business voice and a business mind. So we are here for businesses.
Did you ever think, yeah, I want to work at a chamber?
No. Nope. So
you answered that pretty quickly.
Well,
okay.
I mean, it's just not, as a little kid, people typically kind of, they want to be a doctor, they want to be a nurse, they want to be a teacher, whatever you want to be.
What was that for you?
It was a TV news anchor. So in 4th grade, I interviewed for a thing, and I grew up in Midland County. There's a thing called the Britain Seminar. I don't know if it still exists or not. Every 2 years, there was a new teacher and a new group of students, but they were every 1 year. And so that year, Mrs. Jan Young, who taught at Bullock Creek, I went to Meridian schools, she decided she wanted to delve into broadcasting. And there's this wonderful little facility in Midland still there called MCTV, Midland Community Television. And we had to interview, and I think it was my talking abilities. I was chosen for that class. So 1 day a week, I was bused from my school, Hillside Elementary, into MCTV, which is at the Grace A. Dow Memorial Library.
Yeah.
And I learned broadcasting in 5th grade. So now we have these
5th grade. Okay.
5th grade.
What? You're elementary. You're not even middle school yet.
Elementary students. So, and people now have, they have their phones and they can videotape on here. When I started a few years ago, the tape deck was separate from the camera. So here are these little 5th graders lugging around a big, camera and all the equipment and stuff. We actually did quite well. I won my first award, I think in 6th grade or the 7th grade, one of those years. I got to go to Washington, D.C. to get an award. So it all started in 5th grade.
Wow.
At a little community television station in Midland. And I never changed my mind. There was 12 kids that year and 6 the next year. And I'm the only one of the 18 that ended up in television production of some sort.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. That's amazing in the fact that you had the support that early on in the vision of hey, this is what I want to do.
And who knows what I would have ended up doing if I had not been introduced to that, because that was not something that my little elementary school certainly provided. I don't know if they have any television production there now at all, even in the high school, but it wasn't something I would have ever been introduced to. But Mrs. Young saw something in me. I think it was my chattiness, and she chose me for that program. I had to interview for it. And that sparked my career. So
prior to 4th grade, 5th grade area, have you ever thought about it before? This is something. No. So then after enduring, were you more observant to, I need to turn on the news or I need to watch this?
Oh yeah. I mean, nowadays I'm not such a news junkie because I have an 8-year-old. But even when we go on vacation, I like to turn on the news. It's not so much to see what the news is. It's to see the craft or the art behind it. How do they put this together? What video did they use? What do they lead with? All the elements that go into it. I mean, there's, in radio, you produce things and things happen behind the scenes to make it happen. And so I still enjoy seeing that part of it.
That's amazing. I didn't realize that you were inspired so early in your life, and then you stayed on track.
Mhm.
So we got through elementary school, we
Yep.
got through middle school, we're entering high school, and you still have the same thrive.
When I applied for colleges,
Mhm.
I only applied to one college. I applied to Central Michigan University because at the time they had the best broadcasting program probably in the US, and they still have an excellent program. I'm on a board there that I'm happy to serve on. And that's where I wanted to go, and that's where I went.
What did that experience look like for you going into college, already having so much experience in this
Mhm.
field?
It helped because in this program, it was a lot of hands-on activities. So I already had an idea of how to use a camera, how to edit, how to do all those things. But then there's a lot of maturity things that, hands-on experience can't necessarily teach you. So college is a wonderful experience. I would go there over and over again. I actually went there for my bachelor's and master's degree. I loved it so much.
CMU.
Mhm.
Well, I again have to share. I went to WMU. So,
Oh gosh.
so the interview's over.
I'm gone.
Bye.
Fire up chips.
So then you're going through college, and then you decided to go back. Did you go back right away, or did you take some time off? Or
So at the time when I was finishing up undergrad, I was 21 years old when I graduated. I was not ready to be a grown up, not even remotely close. I was a beer cart girl at a golf course. Shout out to Sandy Ridge in Midland. There was a guy who worked at Northwood, and he had recruited me to go get my MBA at Northwood. So I'd graduated. I was working at the Midland Daily News as a website assistant, and I decided that I was going to get my MBA, but I didn't have some of the prerequisites. So I went back to CMU for a semester, accounting, macroeconomics, microeconomics, and a public relations class for my prerequisites for Northwood. In the meantime, I'm like, and I decided to go back to CMU and get my master's in that. So I decided not to go to Northwood, and I went back to CMU for broadcasting. I was a graduate assistant, so I helped teach some of the programming there while I went there. So
it sounds to me that there's a lot of personal drive through this process. Is that true? I mean, that's just what I'm interpreting. But also, like, what were some components that helped you get through this time? Because college is tough.
I love college.
College, like the dynamic of, moving away, being I'm gonna air quote it for those adults, being an adult, having to manage your own time, your finances, navigate friendships, relationships. Were any of those things questionable or, leery since you were so strong and set on your career and your decision? Because from, the women that I have in the chair, sometimes they're like, I went to college, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. But, they were thriving in other parts of their life. And I'm seeing the cards kind of switch here. You knew what you wanted to do.
I did. And honestly, college was an incredible experience for me. So I grew up in Hope, Michigan, which is in Midland County, and I went to CMU. So from my mom's door to CMU, it was 40 minutes. So I came home quite a bit, especially when it's time to do laundry. But
yes,
but I was a mama's girl, always was, always will be, and I went to see my mom a lot. But I ended up in my freshman year with 3 incredible women who are some of my best friends to this day. I was very fortunate, so I had a great balance there of friendship. I still got good grades, did all my extracurriculars. College was a wonderful experience, but still didn't want to do my own laundry.
I still don't want to do my own laundry.
Yeah. And I worked all through college. I mean, my mom and I had a lot of scholarships. My mom helped me out a ton, but almost done with student loans. Almost like a couple more months, 20 years later. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, college was great, and I met a lot of great people there, and that really set my future because going in, I didn't know that I could do what I wanted to do, and there I figured out that I could.
You mentioned you had a group of friends,
Mhm.
and you're still close to them. Can you unpack that for us? Kind of like, what is the importance of that friendship at that time in your life?
Oh gosh. So Hope, Michigan. Well, I shouldn't say Michigan. We all know it's in Michigan, but not where Hope College is. I'm talking like in Midland County. Very small town. Very, very, very small town. And I went to Mount Pleasant, and to me, that was a big town. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, what is this place? Like, they have like fast food restaurants and like all these things. So my friends that were my college roommates, my one came from Lapeer, which was the biggest city for all of us. My other friend, Lisa, came from Gladwin, and then Ange came from Gaylord. So those were all bigger towns than Hope. So to me, like I learned so many things, like even outfit wise, I'm like, I don't own clothes like that. So I just learned a lot about different areas because I was very sheltered. Like I grew up in a very small town. We didn't really like going to Saginaw was an experience. Like I didn't go very far. So going to Mount Pleasant and meeting new people that weren't friends based on geography, they were friends based on characteristics and personality traits. That really made a difference for me.
How did you find these friends?
I randomly got put with them in Larzalier Hall in 1997, and that's how it started.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay. So, all right. So you came from Hope. You grew up in Hope. You moved to Mount Pleasant and just kind of expanded, right?
Mhm.
In your current position, you reach an entire county of people and beyond in a region. So, could you explain that transition and that mindset of saying, oh, I'm just a little old me here in Hope, and now we have you, Rebecca, who's reaching, like I said, we're reaching Midland, we're reaching Saginaw, we're reaching Bay Area, and further, because chambers do work at a state level as well. So, what does that mindset look like for you when you're like, oh, this is where I came from now?
You know, what I love is so I've called Saginaw County home for 20 years now. When I came back, my first job was in Minnesota, moved back home. My husband's from Saginaw originally. I'm from Midland County, and this has been home. And as a reporter, I covered 16, 17 counties. I can't remember how big the viewing area was. So I got to know a lot about Saginaw, a lot about other communities. And now we're just focused on Saginaw County, which is wonderful because this is a wonderful place to live. I don't know if people realize how blessed we are, all the amenities we have, the things to do. Like I love raising my child here. And I feel fortunate to be one of Saginaw County's cheerleaders. That's kind of what I like to think of myself as is, yes, we're here for the business community, but on social media, other things, like I am really a Saginaw County cheerleader. And that's what I can do for the area with my voice.
So, as a reporter, talk about that experience.
We were talking about this earlier. So I like to think of myself as a puppies and kittens reporter, but unfortunately I had to cover a lot of negative things. So I would much have preferred to do the happy stories, but that's a luxury most people don't get in journalism. So I met so many wonderful people and so many not so wonderful people. But I was with people on their best day and their worst day. And now that I think about it, the way that I talk about things sometimes are very matter of factly, like this happened, that happened. And now, like as a mom, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. Like,
Yeah.
Going through it, like it's your job and that's what you do. And now I think about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I did so many crazy things. But I've done a lot of crazy things. I've met some really cool people. That's the best part of it was meeting somebody new every single day. Like you never knew who you were going to meet. And you know what? Sometimes you remember them, sometimes you don't. For years, like I told you, who I interviewed, their name, where I interviewed them at. And it got to a point where like people would say, oh, I met you, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't remember.
It just blurred. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I felt bad because like they knew me, but I didn't know them. But
they knew Becky.
Yeah. They knew Rebecca.
They knew Rebecca. They knew Rebecca. Yeah.
But that's what I enjoy now most is still when we get to go out. We get to go to ribbon cuttings, grand openings. Today we had our percolator breakfast in the morning, which is a great way to start your day with 300 of your closest friends.
This is true though. Yeah,
it really is. There's nothing I enjoy more than talking with people and meeting people and hearing their stories and finding out what makes them tick and all that kind of fun stuff. So I like to talk to people.
So you mentioned that you saw people on their best days and their worst days. Can you give us an example of how and what one of those worst days might have looked like for them and then how that kind of rubbed off on you?
So many years ago, there was a soldier named Joe Johnson, and I can't remember his rank right now because he was promoted posthumously. And he died from I believe it was an IED in, I think it was Afghanistan. And he passed away. We did a whole bunch of stories when he came back. I got to know his mom, Terry, through all of that. And I had met this other gentleman who was, the flags that would fly over the Capitol in Lansing, they would eventually give them to the families of the fallen soldiers. And I worked with him and talked with Terry. So when they were going to do that, they were going to allow me to be there for that presentation when they're going to give them the flag. And I was there and I did a story on it. I actually was nominated for a Michigan Emmy for that award. But that is my favorite story of my entire lifetime, but yet I wish I didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
And she was somebody that really made an impact on me. I had his button on my desk, a little, like, the sports buttons with Joe. And I would say good morning to him every day when I came into work because he meant that much to me. I felt like I missed out knowing him because of his mom. Like, his mom loved him so much and shared so much about him. And so those are the kind of stories where that was one of her worst days.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had this beautiful friendship that lasted until she passed away a few years ago because of COVID.
Wow.
So those are the types of things that stick with you. Horrible day for the family, horrible situation long term, but we had a good friendship out of it.
Wow. I feel like that's an experience that you and you did, and you still do. You carry that in other parts of your life. So let's talk about, because obviously that's a woman who's inspired you, and that's a woman who has brought a perspective to you that you might have not had before. Were there ever any other women in your life where you're like, yeah, thank you for contributing to me, because now this is my direction or my mindset?
I hate to do this, but I'm gonna cough again.
Yeah, that's okay.
Cough drop is not doing it right now, friends. I'm so sorry. This is everyone's sick right now, aren't they?
It's going around. It's the weather.
Oh, it's something. Ask me your question again. I know a little bit of it, but
sure. Yeah. No, just were there other women in your life that you felt inspired by, that really, touched you, and you took that in that direction? You took their information, kind of like, yes, this is good information. I thank you for being in my life.
Gosh, I'm trying to think. I've had some really good bosses in my lifetime, some good ones and some bad ones. My boss at ABC 12, Jane, she's now at TV5. She was strict, but she taught so much about being compassionate, and your family came first, but then your job also had to come in there too. So I give her a lot of credit for me realizing that when it was time to have a family, there was a time and a place for that, and you could make it all work.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate that from her.
That's really important, especially for women. I think that it's really challenging that when women can't or aren't pointed out in the direction of like, hey, you need to have this balance here. This is your family time. Yeah. This is your work time, your family time, your spouse time, whatever that is. It's one of those things where I'm learning personally myself, but you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you're on that grind just so hard, you don't even see it. Was there ever a point for you that you just didn't see it?
When I was in broadcasting, what you are now, you worked some crazy hours. You worked whatever hours you were told or asked. I'd say told, more like. I didn't have a balance. Like, I worked weekends, I missed birthdays, I missed holidays, I missed all sorts of things because I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know I could say no. And so when I left news to have more time with my family, to have a regular schedule, it was weird to have holidays off. It was weird to have weekends off. I still feel guilty on Christmas. I'm so sorry, everyone.
When you're not,
when I'm not at work. Yeah. Like, I'm like, why is it not my turn?
Is it not my turn? Is it okay that I'm home?
Seriously, it feels that way.
Yeah. That's almost like an odd imposter syndrome kind of situation where it's like, this is, you came from this very busy, dynamic schedule. And it sounds like, and I can empathize with that. It's a love-hate relationship, because you have these dynamic days. You never know what's going to happen for the good. Most of the time you're like, oh, wow, look, I'm meeting the governor today kind of thing. But then you don't know when to turn it off.
Yeah. I used to have 2 phones. I only have 1 now. I still, on vacation, check all my emails because what if somebody sends me a news tip? They're not going to now. I have a hard time turning things off. So I'm on the go all the time. Plus, I don't want to come back to like 5,000 emails. But
I hear you. I hear you about the emails. That is for sure. So we are talking with Rebecca Suhr, and just hold on, because we will be right back with the second half of That's What She Said.
That's What She Said with Christiana Malacara is back. Now let's spill the tea.
All right, and the tea is being spilled because I am here with Rebecca Suhr. She currently is, oh my gosh, you said this title, but it's basically everything digital, all the communication, and a whole lot more because the team at the Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce is truly a team. I have seen this group of people, and I think there's six, and they all do so much, and they help each other. And yes, everybody has a title and role, but they work together. This is truly a team that is doing some amazing things in our community. But Rebecca Suhr had just said right before we cut off to break that there was a point in her life where she's like, what is work-life balance? Do I need to do this? How do I need to do this? And I'm going to start a family. And how do I prepare? Right? So for the women that are listening to this today and men, work-life balance challenge, it's real. Like that is a thing, especially in this day and age, because we can work from our phones. We can work from a laptop. We can work, sitting on the couch while the kids are playing,
Sometimes.
and it's hard to turn off and to turn on. So when was it that you realized this is a lot? Like this balance is not a true balance?
So when I was in the news, I had to step away from being the weekend anchor to be Monday through Friday so I could be there with my son. As it was, the last newscast that I was supposed to be in was at 6:00. So at best, I would get out of work at 6:15, 6:30 at best. There were times that I was there later. At the time, I thankfully my in-laws watched my son. I was okay with childcare. But it got to the point where we were getting closer to him being older and having sports and things to do. And I realized that it just wasn't working. My husband works at Mike Young Buick GMC in Frankenmuth, and he works late hours too. You sell cars, he's in the finance. But if you have a customer that comes in at 6:00, you're not leaving at 6:00.
Yep.
So it had to give. One of us had to make a change, and it made more sense for me to make a change. And we had gotten a new boss, and perhaps she wasn't the greatest boss ever. And they wanted me to go on a political bus trip.
Okay.
It was going to take me to the west side of the state, and I wouldn't get home till 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
That did not work because I had to pick up my child.
Okay.
And it kind of snowballed from there. It was already in the back of my mind.
Like this is coming.
I'm
yeah.
And she said, you need to make a plan B. I said, well, I am his plan A and plan B because I'm his mom. So I'm not going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so we decided that we were going to end my contract. Mm-hmm. And I was more than happy to do that. I had a month to find a job. I found a job 3 days after I left there, and all was well. It was right before COVID too, so great timing for real. Because I was more than happy.
COVID was a standstill. Yeah.
So had that not happened, maybe I'd still be there, but I'd still be working horrible hours.
Yeah.
As it is now, I have a different schedule. I get in a little bit earlier than my other coworkers. I leave at 3:30, and my son goes to childcare for an hour, and I'm able to pick him up, get him to all his sports, see him before it's bedtime.
Yes.
So to me, it's just to have a boss that allows you to go pick up your kid. So A, you don't have to pay a ton of money for daycare, but B, you get to go to his things like that. That was never going to happen if I stayed.
Yeah.
Where is that? It was scary. It was, I still miss it on days, but then when I pick up my kid at 4:00, I get over it really
Feels
fast.
good, right?
I get over it really fast.
Good. And so that's the thing essentially of priorities, what's a priority for you and a priority in your family and a priority for your spouse. And, we're definitely not at all saying hey, to be a good mom, you got to pick up your kid. No,
but you have to make a choice.
Well, you have to prioritize those things, and maybe it's okay for grandma to pick them up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll say it. My parents and my mother-in-law, they pick up my kids regularly.
Oh, I couldn't do it without my in-laws. My in-laws are incredible. Thank God for them.
Thank God for mom and dads, the other mom and dads, us too. Yeah. But it's that cliche thing of it takes a village to raise a child. I started saying it takes a village to create a village, because we're still here as adults and we're I couldn't do this show without my produder. Mm-hmm. You couldn't do your job without your team. So it takes a village to build a village. It's just one of those things. So what's your, I'm going to go off here a little bit. What's your favorite part about being a mom?
Oh gosh. So I don't want to cry. I'm not going to. We
I have
went through a
tissue,
lot
it's
of
okay.
infertility. So for 6.5 years, we tried to have a child. And so Max is truly a miracle. Max is actually a twin, and we lost his sister. So damn, I cry. But I'm not going to. Okay. So
Yeah.
the joy that he brings me, even on his sassiest days where like I know exactly where he got it from.
Yep.
I am so thankful to have my child. I mean, I know it doesn't sound silly, but when we went through all that to have a child and we lost a child, you have a choice. You can be bitter that you lost your child, which I am still sad.
Yeah.
But I choose to wake up every day and be happy because I have him, and I went through a lot to have him.
Yeah.
So just every day to me is a gift, and I realize how lucky I am.
How old is Max?
He is 8.5, going on like 20.
You know, and I get the sassiness too. I really do.
Sissy.
I have an 8-year-old.
Oh man, they're mouthy.
Woo, man.
Yeah,
they're their own person. They really are.
He is.
Yeah. So
And back to school this week. Woo! All that all that energy you had, and then I had to go back to school, and like it's been a little moody the last couple nights.
So I have to ask, going through the trials and tribulations that you did to have your son, what was your support? Who did you lean on? What did that look like?
And I would say my husband and my family, but I mean it's basically family, friends. And at the time, my husband had some medical issues too, so like we were going through a lot of stuff.
There was a lot happening.
Oh, there was a lot happening. That's a whole nother show. Anyway,
hey, we still got 17 minutes.
He had some medical issues.
Okay.
Long story short,
yeah,
he had a sudden cardiac death when I was pregnant, and he had to be revived. He was brought back by paramedics and should not have been here. So he was a miracle. That was in November. I don't know. I was like 4 or 5 months pregnant. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
when I say that you have a choice every day to wake up and be sad about things that have happened or mad, or wake up and be happy, that's where I made my choice.
You're choosing happy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that every day that you choose happy?
For the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, don't ask my husband that, but
well, actually, you know, there's a chat right here. Let's dive into this.
Yeah, right, Ryan. No, but I mean, for the most part, everybody has their bad days. But
is it hard to choose happy, or does it?
No, not really. I mean, as long as you set yourself up for success and figure out like things that make you happy. I mean, I like doing stuff like this. I have a little side makeup and skincare business. I'd like doing that. I love my coworkers. I have never worked in a place. I've never worked in a place that had so few people, but like we all get along. Like we genuinely like each other, want to hang out, and we have fun together. So I work with a good crew.
That's okay. You just said a whole lot. I'm trying to unpack it in my head right now. So we have so you essentially you called your husband and your son miracles.
Mm-hmm. Truly,
they're miracles to be here and exist in this space and grow old together.
Yeah.
So what was challenging during that time where there was so many questions? You know, like what does our future look like? What was challenging, and how did you push through that?
You know, at the time, I didn't really have. I'm the person, like, if there's an emergency, you probably want me there. Like, I'm going to, like, tell people what to do. I'm going to make sure 911 is called. I'm going to do all the things that, like, have to get you through that situation. So that's always been me. So I didn't really have time to, like, think about it and stop and think and, like, have a pity party. I just kind of dealt with what was there and did what I had to do to keep going. And then when I needed to have my time to myself, I could do that at home or whatever. I'm not saying don't cry, because believe me, I cried. But there was a time and a place, and I just did what I had to do to get through because no one else was going to do it for me. So,
yeah, you're right. Nobody else is. It's one of those things where you got to go up to bat for yourself first and prove,
which is hard to do.
Why do you say that?
Well, just I mean, it's not. I guess not everyone has the confidence. I grew up with confidence. I still have confidence. But not everyone is built with that. You know,
where do you think your confidence came from?
Oh, my mom. For sure.
Let's talk about her.
My mommy.
Yeah. She's a confident person.
I'm not going to say she's totally confident. I take confidence to a whole new level, but she showed me what you had to do to get things done.
Okay.
But yeah, she's always been my biggest cheerleader. And
when
I leave here, I will be calling her because I call her on my way home from work every single day. Sometimes I don't call her on the weekends. Bad me. But for the most part, I talk to my mom every day.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like she was confident in you.
Oh yeah.
She was, like you said, you're a cheerleader, right? This team's never going to lose.
Yeah. Although she did not want me to go into broadcasting.
Really?
Yeah. And I can't remember, I don't remember why exactly. I think she just told me I'd be really tough or something, but she was not convinced I could go into should go into broadcasting.
And you did?
For 20 years.
Okay. So
and I coughed on air there too. Anyway, sorry.
So we just said your mom's the biggest cheerleader, but she wasn't encouraging, fully supportive of you going into broadcasting.
And I guess I don't remember why, but yeah, no, she wanted me to try something different. She thought that I'd get this college and change my mind, and I never did. And I'm probably one of the you don't hear that a lot. A lot of people go to college and figure out what they want to do.
Well,
I went yeah. So nope. Maybe she knew I wasn't going to make very much money. I don't know.
I mean, hey. So we're talking about mom and being a cheerleader. How is it that you, or would you consider yourself a cheerleader for someone else in your life?
So okay, I mentioned my makeup and skincare business. I love that because I never planned to do anything like that. That was not me growing up. I could barely do my makeup. But I feel like I help people gain confidence. I mean, that's not going to help you with your inner peace or whatever, but they might feel really good when they're going to a meeting or to an interview or something if their skin looks good, their makeup looks good, whatever it is. I feel like that gives them that little extra boost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's one of those things where when you look good, you feel good kind of thing. Right. So have you ever had anyone reach out and tell you doing these steps, I feel really?
Oh yeah. I mean, I can't think of a good example right now, but there's somebody recently that said something about the color they had on or something. It was the right color because I helped them figure out what colors look good on them. And they really appreciated it because they finally felt like they were wearing the right things. You
said that you weren't in the skincare and that was not your forte. What pushed you in that direction?
My friends were doing it, so I did it. Yeah,
you were the follower.
I was, and I'm normally not a follower. I used to wash. Okay, in college, I probably went to bed with my makeup on all the time, which is horrible. Don't do that, friends. Don't do that. Don't wash it off. Removing your makeup and washing your face are two separate things, friends. Just remember that. So I used to wash my face with Dial soap because I thought, oh, it's antibacterial, and I'll get rid of my blemishes.
That'll probably dry everything out.
Yes. So anyway, I don't do that any longer. But.
Okay, so here's a pro tip from Rebecca Suhr. Washing your face and removing your makeup are two different things.
Two different things. Please do them both.
Okay.
And I promise you'll feel, because literally, you gotta remove your makeup, and then when you wash your face, your skincare can't do its work if it's trying to go through the makeup. It's like a barrier.
That's a good point.
So remove your makeup, then wash your face. And then do all your stuff. But you'll feel better, and your makeup will never apply good if you don't take care of your skincare. So if you want your makeup to look flawless, you also need to work on your skincare. It doesn't have to be expensive stuff. Just take care of yourself. Do something nice for yourself.
These conversations on That's What She Said are just
random.
So sometimes they take a little curve, but these are, honest to God, that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. Okay, so today on That's What She Said, we are talking with Rebecca Suhr. Why are you laughing at me? And Rebecca Suhr is a pillar in the Saginaw community and also beyond because, through TV prior to her current position and now working at the Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce, she's a face, a beautifully make-upped face that is an advocate for others. So as a woman and a woman that owns a small business, right? What hurdles have you had to come over, or do you see being a woman?
Oh gosh, that's a great thought. I mean, there's always, not so much now, but in the past, perhaps being overlooked. And it's not even necessarily, that's not a great example. I'm trying to think of something. I don't know. I just feel like we're always trying to prove ourselves, but I don't know if we're always trying to prove ourselves to the world or to ourselves. Women have a lot of self-doubt. I have a lot of confidence.
Why do you think women have self-doubt though?
I see a lot of women that don't realize their full potential. I don't look like her, or I don't have that, or I don't have that. And like I said, sometimes you just have to wake up and choose joy. and figure out that, like, yeah, you know what I have going on here is pretty darn good.
Kind of like how I started out. So I started out with that monologue of someone told me, be your own boss.
Mm-hmm.
You know, write your own book, pave your own path, all those analogies, da 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 da. You know, be your own boss and make your own decisions, because that's one thing you do have. Was there ever a moment where you doubted a decision you made?
Oh gosh, all the time. I try to live my life where I don't have to apologize. So I try to make my best decisions that I know, like, I may not like the decision, but I know that I'm not going to apologize to somebody. So I really try to, like, think about things before I do them. So, but I'm trying to think of an example where I doubted myself. I mean, there's always doubt. I just having a hard time thinking of one right now. Maybe I'll think of one while we're talking.
So you said you try to create situations where you don't need to apologize.
Mhm.
Do you find it hard to apologize?
I don't think I'm wrong. No, sorry. No, I honestly think that taking ownership right away is just the best way to handle things. Like, if you made somebody feel left out, apologize for that. You apologize that you made them feel that way. I think it's a sign of respect. It's a sign of confidence in yourself that, gosh, you know what, I screwed up. Like, let me take ownership of that. Like, I feel like you need to do it right away. Be genuine, and then don't do it again.
Yeah, learning from those mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a situation where you're like, maybe I'm not moving through this as confident as I normally am? And in this, I'm talking more or less like in your current, you know, in your line of work.
Well, when I started at the chamber in March of 20, I can't remember what year it was. Oh my gosh, 2023? I can't remember. Yeah, I'm coming on 2 years. It's a whole different world. I mean, if you've ever been to a chamber event, you've been to one chamber event. We have perks, we have business after hours, we have chairman's ball, we have all these different things. And getting to know them and how they benefit our members took some getting used to. Like, okay, we're having a chairman's ball. This year's Saturdays in the park. But how does that benefit somebody? Yeah, it's a fun party, but it's also a great way to, like, make connections. Like a connection that if you're playing a game we're gonna have some yard games this year. Playing a game of putt-putt, you might have a frank conversation with somebody that you wouldn't have, like,
anywhere else.
Yeah. So, like, there are different ways. Yes, they're fun events. There's also a way that they can benefit our members, and that's building these connections that you don't know where that's going to take you.
So earlier you said at a perk breakfast, you're with 300 of your best friends. That's a lot of different personalities.
That is, but they're so much fun.
So what are some ways and tips that you could share of, like, navigating through a situation where you have all these different personalities to communicate with?
You know, just be yourself. But I will say, we sparked a thought in my brain there. If you've never been to a perk breakfast and you walk in and you see all these people that perhaps you don't know, that is so intimidating. Like, I can walk into a room and I'll talk to anybody, but for some people, that is a major hurdle to even say hello to someone. So my advice for coming to an event like that, make a plan to go with a buddy, and then you can go around the room, or come find one of the people that are one of our volunteers, our ambassadors, or somebody like yourself on the steering committee. Make a friend and ask them to take you around and introduce you to a few people. Like, there are ways to overcome that. To me, that's fun. To some people, that is not fun. Like, that's terrifying. So make a plan. Come with a buddy. Find somebody you know there and stick with them, and then go around and meet people, because that's the whole point, is to make connections.
Have you made any empowering connections that have affected you personally?
Well, I'd mentioned earlier about Joe Johnson's mom, Terry.
Yeah.
She was a person who chose joy. And I think that's what I loved so much about her, was she had lost her son in a war. And every time she saw me, oh, your hair looks so pretty, your makeup looks great, good morning, you look beautiful. I mean, she always had something happy to say, or she could have been at home, not living a happy life because she had this terrible thing happen to her, but she chose joy. And I think that's kind of where I got it from too, was, she really impacted me a lot.
Choosing joy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I guess what can someone do when they find it challenging to choose joy?
Lean on a friend. I mean, that's whenever I really need something, I find that if I hang out with whichever friend I need, because you don't need the same thing from all friends. One friend might be your one you're going to go to and, like, tell them everything. My friend Allison, I will tell her anything and everything. Other friends, I might just need to go to the bar and have a drink or go hang out at their house or whatever. Like, you need different things from different people, and knowing what you need from them and how they can help you can really make your life a little bit easier.
Okay. So you have specific friends. I mean, all of your friends are friends.
Yeah.
But you have specific friends for specific needs.
Yes.
Okay. Whoa, wait. Okay. So this is new to me. Okay. Because I think I have friends. I think I have a lot of friends. I don't know.
Right?
I don't know. Now you're making me
You're a
reevaluate.
mom, so maybe you don't have as many friends as you used to.
Exactly. Maybe they're just mom friends. So, okay,
Yeah.
here we go. Mom friends.
I love my mom friends.
You have mom friends.
Mhm.
What is the importance of having a mom friend?
Oh gosh. When my child's being sassy, they can totally like,
Yup.
they know what I'm talking about, like 100%. Yeah, I have made some great friends. I live in Frankenmuth, and my son goes to St. Lawrence, and I didn't grow up there. So through my child, we'll go places with people like, hey Max, how are you? And I'm like, how do you know these people?
Yeah.
My kid has a better social life than I do, but I have met so many moms through my kid that have just been, I love hanging out with them. Like, I love going on field trips because we get to like talk. Like, mom friends are great.
What's another type of friend that someone should have?
Oh gosh. You have to have that friend that you can tell everything to and like be honest. My friend Allison, she knows everything. maybe everyone else doesn't know everything. Like, maybe they know little pieces of me, but I fully trust her. I know she's not going to tell anybody. I know she's going to give me good advice, or if I just want her to say, yeah, that stinks, she'll say that stinks. But if I need something else from her, she'll give that to me too. So she's the all-around best friend.
Okay. So I heard this piece of advice that when you're going to your friend and you're kind of just pouring out, right? It's always good. This was the advice. I don't know. I really haven't practiced it yet. To say to that person, do you want me to listen or do you want me to advise? Have you ever heard this? So you've heard this?
I've heard it, but never thought much about it. But yeah, because sometimes you just need to
let it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you feel better. Like, if somebody actually, people love to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
People want to be listened to. I mean, sometimes that's all somebody needs, is to be listened to. That's one thing as a reporter I loved, was listening to people and actually like hearing what they had to say.
Who do you have in your corner that listens to you?
My mommy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I call her mommy.
I think we need to bring mom on next time. Okay. I need to
I'm
talk
not sure
to the
Roseanne
mom.
would like that too much, but I'm gonna ask her. My mom, my husband, my friends at work.
Okay.
Lisa at work is an excellent listener.
She is.
She is.
Yeah. I think that's important to mention is, creating those circles and keeping those relationships and friendships going is, like you said, a mom friend. You need a mom friend. You need to dump everything on, pour into your friend, but then mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we find those friends? Just a piece of advice to someone that's, I don't know how to find a mom friend, or I don't know how to do this.
I will say that my mom friends, I wasn't necessarily looking for. Like, I didn't know them. I didn't grow up in Frankenmuth. But through my son and all of his friends, I just got to know them. I wasn't looking for them, but we found each other, and it's been great.
Just put yourself out there.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't looking for new friends. I mean, you're always looking for new friends, but you know what I mean? It wasn't like on a mission to like find new friends. But it's been wonderful to have those people in my life.
Wow. Well, I really, really do appreciate you coming in and sharing, but I would like to ask you for one piece of advice that you would like to share to the community.
I would like to say you need to learn how to say no, or learn how to best focus your efforts. When I graduated from college, went to Minnesota for my first job, I was spending way too much time on my stories. My wise professor, Professor Rick Sykes, told me, Rebecca, you can't do good on every single story. You can do okay on every story, but you can't do great on every story. And that didn't make sense to me. And then I finally figured it out. Put your best effort forward for the day. It's probably going to be pretty darn good. And then put the really good effort into the things that you can make great. So knowing where to focus your efforts relieved the stress and the amount of hours I was working.
That is a really good piece of advice. Thank you. And thank you for tuning in. That is Rebecca Suhr, and that's what she said.